Hello, my name is Maddie Nave, and this is We Wish We Were Heather, Self-Worth and Perception in Conan Gray's Heather. If envy had a name, it might just be Heather. In 3 minutes and 18 seconds, Conan Gray captures what it feels like to be invisible next to someone unforgettable. Heather isn't just a song about love, it's a confession. A raw, aching look at self-image, desire, and the quiet comparisons we make when we feel like we're not enough. In this presentation, I'll explore how Heather became an anthem for the overlooked, and why it resonates with anyone who's ever felt like they wanted to be someone else. Today I will explain my analysis of Conan Gray's Heather by first giving context to the time period, introducing the artist and the song, and then going over my analysis, which will be followed by my implications and conclusion. Before we dive into the context, however, let's start with the question that guides this exploration. How does Conan Gray's Heather reflect the psychological concepts of social comparison, the halo effect, and imposter syndrome, and what do they reveal about modern-day societal standards? To begin unpacking this question, it's essential to examine the broader cultural landscape in which Heather exists, namely the current state of social media. In today's digital age, social media has become more than just a way to stay connected. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat are built around visuals, encouraging users to present the most curated, filtered versions of their lives. This culture of constant visibility has led to the rise of highly idealized beauty standards, and what makes this even more complex is how quickly these ideals shift. Trends cycle through rapidly, and as a result, social media doesn't just reflect beauty standards, it actively shapes them. In doing so, it becomes a great breeding ground for comparison. Against the ever-shifting beauty standards and relentless digital comparisons, one artist has emerged, Conan Gray. Conan Gray is an American singer-songwriter who first gained popularity through YouTube in his teens, sharing vlogs and original songs. More than just a musician, Conan Gray is a product of the internet age. His rise from a teen making silly videos on the internet to a global pop artist mirrors the very world he writes about, one shaped by screens, self-expression, and constant connection. His music also deals with themes of identity, heartbreak, and insecurity, and over the years, he's become especially popular among Gen Z audiences, known for his raw, honest lyrics and emotional vulnerability. Having established Conan Gray's artistic and musical identity, let's dive into one of his most culturally and psychologically resonant works, Heather. Released in 2020 as a part of Kid Crow, Heather is a soft, somber ballad about unrequited love. In this song, Conan sings about a crush who doesn't love him back because they're in love with someone else, a girl named Heather. Heather is everything he wishes he could be, beautiful, kind, and effortlessly perfect. The song went completely viral on apps like TikTok and climbed the Billboard charts. The name Heather transformed into internet shorthand for someone everyone loves, someone who simply can't be measured up to. The song gave voice to something deeply familiar, the pain of feeling invisible next to someone better. While the emotional weight of Heather is evident through its cultural impact, its weight becomes even more evident when analyzing the song through psychological frameworks. Social comparison theory is a psychological theory first identified by Leon Festinger in 1954, which entails that people as humans have an inherent desire to assess themselves and therefore do so by comparing themselves to other people in order to evaluate their own abilities and beliefs. The prevalence of social comparison theory is large, and it was even conducted in a 2008 study by psychologists Amy Somerville and Neil J. Rose that comparative thoughts can account for up to 12% of all daily thoughts in humans. Overall, social comparison plays a substantial role in the lives of humans, whether it be subconsciously or not. The music video for Heather is filled with scenes of tranquility. Conan never sings the lyrics of the song, and instead, all that is seen are slow, almost motionless shots of him doing everyday tasks, showering, lying down, getting dressed, and so forth. Throughout these scenes, Conan is always centered in the shot, but it never feels fully empowered. These facts are important to note in the context of social comparison theory. The act of being but a spectator is evident in the lyrics, where Conan sings, "But I watch your eyes as she walks by. What a sight for sore eyes." It almost feels like Conan is an outsider in his own world, passively observing while everyone moves at a normal speed. Lastly, the most central symbol of the song entirely is the inclusion of the sweater. You gave her your sweater, it's just polyester, but you like her better, Conan sings, wistfully continuing with the most significant line of all, I wish I were Heather. It is a prime example of the vulnerability that comes with comparison. Despite wanting to be seen, it is hard to feel worthy of ever being noticed as just yourself. Now that we've covered social comparison theory, let's move on to the halo effect. The halo effect, a name coined by American psychologist Edward Thorndike in 1920, is a term used to describe a type of cognitive bias where a person's first impression of someone influences their perception of them entirely. Essentially, the observation of one trait, whether bad or good, alters what someone thinks about another completely. Throughout the music video, there is a continuous use of golden, glowy lighting that basks onto Conan. Whether he is simply changing clothes or looking in the mirror, these golden hues surround his figure and illuminate his features. The use of this lighting is intentional. It mirrors the angelic aura that the idealized Heather has, or more so the aura that the speaker in the song projects onto her. When it shines onto Conan, it resembles an attempt at an imitation of Heather's light, a visual representation of trying to become what the speaker is not. The fact that the speaker tries to emulate her affirms the speaker's inherent belief that Heather is better despite never having proved so, representing the halo effect in action. Most notably, Heather never actually appears in the video. This leaves her appearance to be left up to the audience to envision, only having the guise of perfection to go by. Instead of Heather being conceived as an actual human being, she becomes more of a concept, allowing viewers to shape their own perspective onto who Heather really is, and forcing them to acknowledge their own perceptions of perfection. Moreover, throughout the video, there is the usage of the filming technique of shallow depth of field. In some scenes, Conan is sharply focused on, while the background remains blurred, which could symbolize the tunnel vision that occurs through the halo effect. It blurs reality and demonstrates how Heather is only seen in one extreme, entirely flawless, while the speaker can only seem to recognize their own flaws. There is also the presence of irony in the lyrics, where Heather is so idealized that despite being so superficially perfect, the speaker still feels disdain towards her. How could I hate her? She's such an angel, the lyrics vocalize, with the use of a rhetorical question. But then again, kind of wish she were dead. The strategies seen in the music video and lyrics highlight how the halo effect fuels unrealistic standards and traps people in a disillusioned, never-ending cycle of feeling unwanted. Now that we've talked about the halo effect and its presence in Heather, let's talk about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a behavioral health phenomenon that is largely defined by feelings of insecurity. Individuals who suffer from imposter syndrome cannot comprehend their own favorable qualities, and thus subsequently suffer from low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and overall stress. Throughout the video, Conan makes several changes in appearance. Although these shifts are subtle, their meaning is nothing but. He cycles through different looks, with some being more feminine, with him wearing a skirt and hair clips, as seen on the right, and others appearing more masculine, as he wears baggy pants and a plain white top. These changes visually represent a question that condenses imposter syndrome into one phrase. What does a person need to look like to be loved? It mirrors the core experience of imposter syndrome, where it feels like no matter what a person does, they are still not enough. Here's his more feminine look. Conan changes himself to fit the mold of what he hopes fills the hole of feeling inadequate, only to find out that the changes do not reward anything. They are only mere attempts to pass as someone worthy of love, hoping that by adopting Heather's traits, the speaker will eventually feel like they are good enough. The lyrics portray these feelings of inadequacy through a rhetorical question. Why would you ever kiss me? I'm not even half as pretty. This line in itself demonstrates the heart of what it feels like to be the imposter. No matter what a person does to try and convince themselves that they are enough, they cannot comprehend their own positive traits. Overall, Heather provides a painfully honest portrait of how imposter syndrome affects identity and self-perception. Now that we've gone over my analysis of Heather, let's move on to the implications of it. One of the most powerful things about Heather is how it puts words to a feeling that so many people experience but rarely talk about: the quiet sense of not being enough. And not because you've done anything wrong, but because someone else just seems better. Conan Gray captures that feeling in a way that's raw, honest, and incredibly relatable. After the song's release, the phrase, "I wish I were Heather," became a viral trend, and the name Heather quickly turned into a kind of cultural shorthand for someone who is effortlessly perfect: beautiful, lovable, and seemingly unattainable. In doing so, the song became a form of emotional education, helping people recognize and name their own insecurities. But what makes Heather especially impactful is that it's coming from a male artist. Pop music doesn't always give men space to express vulnerability, especially around topics like jealousy or self doubt. Conan's openness challenges the norm and shows that it's okay and even powerful to be emotionally honest in music. That honesty is a big part of why Heather has meant so much to so many listeners. Conan Gray's Heather is more than just a heartbreak anthem. It paints a psychological picture of the effects of living in a world that is visually oriented. Through the lenses of social comparison theory, halo effect, and imposter syndrome, the lyrics and music video for Heather reveal what it feels like to be consumed by the belief of not being enough. Although some might say confronting these topics head on can be uncomfortable and frankly impractical, Heather proves that facing harsher topics is not only necessary but beneficial. It resonates far beyond a simple love story, and holds a mirror up to how humanity is wholly shaped by comparison and commodified perfection. More than this, Heather does not close with a solution. There is no happy ending or moving on, but instead a conclusion and validation. It is essential that viewers sit with this validation, and in the process acknowledge the depth to which society teaches a harmful belief system that ultimately affects the ability of people to love themselves. In all, Heather stands as one of the most powerful portrayals of societal beauty standards in our generation, and not because it perfectly lays them out on a silver platter, but because it goes against the grain in defining them. By challenging the norms that society often sweeps under the rug, Heather not only beckons us to question these standards at large, but question why these standards continue to be upheld. If envy had a name, it might just be Heather. But through Heather, we realize that envy isn't just about wanting someone else's life. It's about the way we measure our own. Heather gives us a language to understand these feelings, and maybe even let go of them. Thank you. And here's my works cited.